And what did he do in 2015 at Chambers Bay? Well, he tied first in the field in birdies made, second in scrambling, tied for fifth in greens and regulation percentage. No surprise considering how great of an iron player Jordan Spieth is. Let's hear from Jordan Spieth.
Welcome back to the interview area. We are here with 2015 U.S. Open champion Jordan Spieth. Jordan, talk a little bit about being here at a course that you're familiar with before U.S. Open.
Yeah, it's really exciting. I mean, I remember watching the 08 U.S. Open and, dreaming of being out there competing on this course in this championship, and obviously what a phenomenal U.S. Open that was. So it's an incredible golf course. It requires a lot of shot making, a lot of precision. For the U.S. Open, even more so, but also quite a bit more touch around the greens and judging some of these nasty rough lies around the greens. So played 18 yesterday. It seems in perfect shape for leading into this championship. And for me, just trying to go through the same kind of routines I've been going through and get off to a good start. I had gotten off to some pretty good starts most of the rounds this year, and then I didn't at Jack's event, and kind of put me behind from a chance to win. So starting out Thursday, try and just stay real patient and recognize that it's a U.S. Open and par is a pretty good score.
We're going to take one from the WebEx. What do you make of Tiger's win here at Torrey in 2008 facing such adversity?
You mean adversity as far as injury? Yeah, I mean, would it end up being a torn ACL? Is that right? Is that right?
Femur.
Yeah, I mean, something that you shouldn't be playing golf on, and he went and won the U.S. Open in it, which, when you're having to hack out of this rough, and then obviously it's one of the tougher walks as well. That's something else. And then, the up and down on the 18th, on the 72nd hole from the rough, and obviously one of the most memorable putts in major championship history. I remember where I was watching it, and it was just so exciting. I mean, that was obviously he was an inspiration for all of us younger generation out here to try and go out and practice a putt like that the whole next week to try and pretend it was to tie or win a U.S. Open.
Doug on the right.
Said a couple things. There was some chatter yesterday about an ankle problem with you.
I jammed my foot last week and.
Jammed your foot. What does that mean?
Yeah, I was carrying my clubs and I jammed my foot, my heel, leaving the course, and so it's been hurting, but it's nothing that I'm going to do more damage to or anything like that. So I'm fine.
And how much time have you spent in the rough, and how would you describe its difference now compared with January?
Yeah, it's tough anyways in January, right? And then it's normally maybe some more moisture, but it's obviously higher. Around the greens, it's wicked. I mean, spotters are going to have to really be on their game, because around the greens you can hit some shots, 5 feet off the edge of the green and really have to look hard to find your ball. And then the rough, it seems like there's some graduated rough on some holes, and even that first cut on 12 and like 14 are the two that come to mind. Even the first cut is mowed into you, and so there's not a whole lot you can do. You're not really advancing more than a 7-iron from a lot of those lies, just trying to tumble it down the fairway. So it's a little bit here and there. I think they left it down in some certain places, like left of 12, and certain places that might be popular that you could hit a pretty good shot and end up being able to reach the green because on some of the harder holes. But I think they've done a really good job from the looks of it so far.
And then when you talk around the green, this isn't the first time you played big rough around it. Do you ever have to guard against a double hit if you're close to
the only ones that comes into play are the ones where it's sitting really high on the grass and you got to kind of slide it under and hit it at a really short length. So if you short side yourself, but you get one that looks like a good lie, a lot of times those are actually the hardest ones because you can slide right under it. Or those are the ones where you're kind of passing at the same speed as the ball's coming off. So yeah, I hit a couple yesterday where I was like, whoa, but if you cut it enough, you normally it doesn't come into play.
Thank you.
Right here.
I'm done.
Oh.
Yeah, Jordan, what's your take on the Bryson Brooks thing in terms of, is that good for golf? Is it amusing to you guys? Is it what's your take on tour for players on that?
I mean, we've certainly talked about it like other people, so it's chatter. I don't know. I don't really feel like I'm not really sure. I don't really know how it all started. I don't know where they're at now. I don't know the severity So I know that I don't think either one, they didn't pair them this week and stuff like that, but I'm sure it'll happen soon enough, and it seems like people would be interested to watch that.
Would you be interested to watch that?
I'd rather be playing, behind him on a Saturday, Sunday, but so I don't really watch golf anyway. So, I'd rather just be playing in the event. Yeah.
One last quick thing. If you were in that situation, I know you're obviously not, but if those two were paired together today, how much of it, as a player, a distraction would that be?
I'm not sure. I guess it kind of depends on. I don't think between the two of them it would be an issue. It'd be more, the crowd at both of them if people are taking sides or something like that.
Yeah.
All the way on the right.
Since the last time you were here, Jordan, how would you evaluate the way that you've played in the last almost 5 months?
Yeah, very well. I think, I think obviously the results say that, but also just kind of progress that I've made in kind of the tee to green range. And then chipping's been pretty solid here or there, a little bit streaky, but feel like I've been moving the right direction with the flat stick as well. So, overall, everything's been quite a bit better, and there's reasons why, and I've just been sticking to the game plan and working on those reasons.
Was there a reason that formed around the last time you were here?
Yeah, it was around that time, yeah. Just started to really get a good grasp on what things are supposed to feel like through impact, what I did. That was such an advantage for a long time, my DNA and where I'd gotten off, and then working my way to get back to that feel through impact, kind of work impact backwards.
Any health limitations this week physically?
No, I don't know. I mean, I played 18 yesterday, and I should be good. I'm having a hard time pushing off on some of the drives, but I think yesterday was better than the day before, which was better than the day before, so I assume just continued treatment and rest, and should be fine.
Ryan.
Jordan, two different things. Is it harder or easier to come to a major venue that you play regularly, knowing that you already have the ingrained knowledge, or would you rather go to a spot where everyone's kind of starting with a clean slate?
I think at this point, being 8th or 9th year out here, I'd rather it be this scenario. I feel like you can have, especially when the course plays relatively similar. I mean, it's one of the more difficult, higher scoring averages in a PGA Tour event. So I think the fact that it doesn't change a whole lot, your game plan's pretty much the same. You're trying to hit the center of the greens and work from there, and you're watching out for some of the harder holes, trying to put the ball on in 2 and walk off with 4. I think in this case, I like that there's course knowledge versus learning a new place.
And then you mentioned the hack out rough around the greens. Is it harder to have 5-inch rough around the greens or a super tight shot that you absolutely have to clip perfectly?
I don't mind the tight lies. I feel like I've built a wedge with very little bounce, and I've always practiced off into the grain Bermuda growing up, and I feel like it's an advantage of mine, so I like runoffs. But again, like around the greens too, you throw out technique when you get some of these nasty lies, and you've got to feel it. And I guess to answer your question, I don't really care. It is what it is. There's some of both out here too. You can get stuck in some areas left of 15 and behind number 9. There's some areas where you can be in some trouble off some tight lies and need to play some shots as well. So it requires everything. There's not one. You got to hit it low, you got to hit it high, you got to hit it right to left, left to right. I mean, this is just one of those golf courses that you have to just be on, and it'll eat you up if you're not.
Bill and then Alex.
During yesterday's practice round, Phil Mickelson was giving Bryson like an extended tutorial on how he hits a flop shot. I mean, it went on for like several minutes with video involved and stuff like that. I mean, how common is that during a practice round between players?
I think pretty common. I think especially like on and around the greens, looking at mainly chip shots, pitch shots, that kind of stuff. Guys, we'll either go over and say $20 closest to the tee, and put a ball down and try and act like it's a shot you'd have in the tournament, and then you'll be like, hey, how'd you get that one to spin more or launch it higher? I think it's relatively common out here. I think that's probably different from obviously other sports if it's team to team, but most of the time you're playing practice rounds with people who you want to play practice rounds with, and your buddies, and so I would say it's fairly common.
Yeah, that's why I was going to ask. I mean, in other sports, competitors don't help each other out that way.
Yeah, on their own team, as they do, and obviously we're all different teams technically, so yeah, I think it's just more, we've all grown up doing it, from junior golf on, and they're your buddies, and yeah, I mean, you could just say, no, this is my secret, but at the same time, you could just stand there and watch it and figure it out pretty easily.
Alex, on the right.
Yeah. Obviously, you've progressed a lot over the last 4 months. What was your mindset and thought coming into Winged Foot versus here this week?
I think Winged Foot was, oh boy, here we go. And I think this week is, I'm in a position where I think I can stand on the 10th tee on Thursday and win this golf tournament. And as much as you want to say that, you can fake it till you make it, I mean, I needed that confidence between then and now to really think that standing on the tee. I mean, a U.S. Open, when you're really struggling off the tee, it's just not going to go well. There's just, you could get away with it at other places, but not at a U.S. Open. And I think, I've had success maybe once on this course on the South course out of playing it 5 times. So, if I'm probably going to need to reshape a game plan a little bit to maintain that confidence through the week and kind of have the right idea on. I just, I've got to play it. If I'm in a bad lie, you just can't force things on a course like this. And if you have to punch out and hit a wedge close to make par, then do it. And I think it being in a better place allows me to feel like I'm going to tee off with a little more patience, that, if I do make a couple bogeys, it's fine because I feel like I'm going to make some birdies versus, oh no, wheels are coming off. I mean, I started that, I 3-putted the first, and then I left a ball in a tree on my second hole of the tournament at Winged Foot, and from there it was not very good.
I saw yesterday guys trying different clubs, not just wedges, from around the greens. Could you see yourself using a hybrid or even a 3-wood or something like that?
I've never been one to use that. You see that a lot at the Open Championship. I've never been one. I've never practiced it, so I haven't dialed it in. I think, if I hit a bank shot, I'm using a 52 degree, maybe a 60 if it needs to just barely trickle on. And if you're I'd use 2 wedges to chip, regardless of where I am in the world, regardless of the shot. I use 60 or 52 for any shot that's needed inside of 100 yards.
Which heel, by the way?
Right, yeah.
Thank you.
Last 2, one from the WebEx. Thinking about the narrow fairways and rough, do you feel the South course is set up similarly at all to Winged Foot last fall?
I think they play very differently, and here's why. I think at Winged Foot, the fairways were so firm that fairway percentages were going to be so low that essentially those who flew the ball the furthest, and obviously the winner was one of those, and if you look down the leaderboard as well, they were such difficult fairways to hit regardless if you hit a good shot or not because of how they doglegged and where they'd bounce, that the shorter the club into the green, the percentage-wise, a better opportunity to hit it straighter, be able to get out of the rough, and so on and so forth. Obviously, you needed to still hit a lot of really, really good shots, play the par 3s well, that kind of stuff. I think this is different. The grass type in the fairways, even if it firms up a bit, is still going to hold shots a bit better, and then there's more bunkers around the landing areas than rough. So I think that it's a different situation on that front. The greens are also smaller here, so even more emphasis on hitting fairways.
Doug?
Had a couple things. Knowing that you never arrive to where you eventually want to go in this game, do you ever find yourself or allow yourself to look back to where you were a year, 2 years ago and be thankful that the worst of it's over? Assuming it is.
Yeah. I mean, I would say yes. There are times where I'm like, I was out here yesterday with Michael, and I'm like, man, I remember this shot just being a no chance, earlier this year, and now I feel really comfortable about it. It's kind of situations like that where, as much as I want to keep pressing forward, and again, I'm still not where I want to be in my swing, even though it's working the right way. Got a little off the weekend at Colonial through Jack's event. So still a little teeter-tottering trying to get it to move forward. But I think back sometimes and I'm like, man, I'm appreciative of where I'm at because I hope to be back thinking this way, feeling this way, when it didn't seem like, I could get out of the way I was thinking and feeling. So,
are you better for it, or do you wish it never happened?
It's hard. It's hypothetical. I mean,
Not a lot.
huh? Yeah. I mean, it is what it is. I'm where I'm at right now, and moving forward, it could be advantageous for me if I continue to progress.
All right, then last thing, and then I'll hang up and listen. You were asked about Bryson and Brooks earlier, and it kind of dawns on me that you kind of went through your same little moment here at Torrey Pines with Patrick. What was that like? And I, excuse me, I think the reason I ask is that you do a pretty good job blocking out noise, but sometimes it's unavoidable. Do you remember that moment?
Yeah, I mean, it stemmed from the Ryder Cup and, wanting to play with Justin and in some matches. And I think, I think it was more blown up than it was between he and I. He and I never really had any person-to-person issues. I think, and I remember walking on, I was paired with him, of course, and just sarcastically gave him a hug. I mean, we've always played really well when we've been paired with each other, whether it's at a team event or we've good scoring averages individually with each other as well in regular events. And I embrace playing with him. He's a fun person to play in tournaments with. We've got somewhat similar games, and it's actually awesome watching his short game all the time. And so I think that one, is a very different situation.
Can you see Brooks and Bryson hugging next time they play together?
I at this point, probably not. But who knows what will happen over the next, till they play again.
All right. Thanks for your time, Jordan. Good luck.
Thank you.
Jordan Spieth done talking. Now he'll just focus on playing. Going to try to pull off the 2006 Rose Bowl situation out of this grouping, get the Texas boys in Southern California, and take the trophy home. Will Z, Scotty Scheffler, Jordan Spieth, Thursday, 4:25 p.m. Eastern. They'll start their 121st U.S. Open Championship.